welcome everybody. I get asked over and over again to share my favorite way or ways to color in my stamped images. Like especially the people who bought my my Clearstamp sets. There's always a girl, or maybe even two girls on here. And I just totally love to color those small stamped images in. And yeah, I get asked to share or to give you some tips on my favorite ways or favorite supplies to color those images in. And actually all of the supplies that I am using to color my stamped images in, no matter if it's my own stamped images or my own designs or other stamped images, I just totally prefer, or my favorite way to color them in is to use water-soluble media, so watercolors. And I will show you actually three different ways or three different watercolor medias that I love to use to color in stamped images to give them a real nice handmade or hand-painted this watercolor look. Okay, so the first supplies that I totally love to use to color in stamped images are my Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. I also love to use other watercolor markers, but lately, to be honest, I only use the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens just because I totally love to work with them. I love how vibrant the colors are, and I totally love this real brush tip. It comes with a real brush, like bristles, so it's very similar to working with a real brush, as the name says. And the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, they come in a large color palette, and I think I own the 64 set. I think I bought the 64 set or something like that. But also with a smaller set like I think there's a 32 set, you're totally fine and good to go. And I would definitely suggest to give them a try because I absolutely love them, and I will show you how I work with them in a second. Then I will show you another image that I will color in, another girl that I will color in just with some good old watercolors in a pen, if I can get that open. Those are the Winsor & Newton Coatman watercolors, so they are not the artist quality watercolors but the cheaper ones. But whenever I work on projects that I don't plan on selling, so where light fastness and the vibrancy of the colors isn't like super important, I also love to use those. So of course you could work with any other brand of watercolors in a pen, but my go-to brand for watercolors kind of turned out to be Winsor & Newton, just because I love their colors. I love how they're really vibrant and highly or richly, how do you say, the pigment is very good. Sometimes it's hard to explain, but you get the idea. Yes, so I will show you this, and then I will show you a third way to color them in with another watercolor medium, which I absolutely love, and that's the Ecoline watercolors. Those are liquid watercolors by Talents of Amsterdam. They also come in a very large color palette, and they are super vibrant, so really vibrant. For watercolors they are amazing, and I just totally love to work with them. And I will also show you how I use those to color in my stamped images. Yay! So now I have my hands all dirty because one of them kind of lost some color here. I don't know, maybe I didn't tie the lid on. Anyways, so I will go clean my fingers and then we will stamp some images together and get started to color them in. And I hope it will give you the one or the other tip, and yeah, maybe you will just enjoy watching me color them in, and you can maybe take something out of this video for your own way to color in like stamped images, or not only stamped images, maybe even like hand-drawn images. So yeah, I think let's get started. Okay, so first of all, the paper. Not very unimportant, because if you're working with watercolor and you want to achieve a nice watercolor look, it's like super important to work on a watercolor paper, on a paper that kind of gives a good surface to work on with watercolor. So I love to use the Gastega watercolor paper, which is a 300-gram paper, just because I love to work on the more heavy weight paper. And this is a cold pressed one, which means that the paper has a slight texture on here. You maybe can see that. I'm not sure if the camera catches that, but I just totally love the texture of watercolor paper. Of course, you could just use like the hot pressed one, which has a smooth surface. So it's a thing of personal preference, of course. I've already stamped one image here, which is from the Wild Soul stamp set. So I'm gonna use this one right away here, okay? And let's just stamp some of the other girls here on another sheet. I love to use the black Stas-On as my ink pad. I also work with the Ranger, what is it called? There it is. Ranger Archival ink, Jet Black. So those two actually are my go-to black ink pads, as you can see. Well loved. Yay! So let's see which ones we're gonna choose to color in. Maybe one of the planner girls here. Maybe let's pick the one with the short hair. And another tip, if you're starting out with a very fresh clear stamp, or in general with a very fresh new stamp like this one, which has never been used, never been stamped before, you will realize that this side of the stamp is very sticky, yeah? So I would suggest to do like a couple of test stamps first, like just use a sheet of paper and stamp it a couple of times, so that kind of this stickiness kind of goes away. Doesn't make sense? Because sometimes it's just still too sticky to give you a good print. So just do like 2 or 3 dummy stamps first. You see it's quite a good image already. But with some stamps which are super sticky, that really helps before you go on your actual project, like I do now. And of course, with a cold pressed paper, because of the texture of the paper, you kind of have to press a little harder to get a nice stamped image, but it works pretty well. So let's use this one, and maybe let's grab another one. Maybe let's work with this little cutie here from the Child of God stamp set. Those are still available, but they are going pretty well. So if you plan on ordering those for limited edition stamp sets, you shouldn't think for too long, because as with all of my Clearstamp sets, they are limited edition. I have them produced just one time, and once they're gone, they're gone. And I know that many people are quite sad because the Coffee Queen stamp and the Tea Party Queen stamps are not available anymore, and they keep getting messages asking if they will come back, but unfortunately they won't. So if you like those stamps and if you want those stamps, yeah, just grab them while they're there, because they will not come back. I will put the link to my shop into the info box, so you can check them out if you like them. There you go, another cutie, a praying little girl, which is perfect for like Bible journaling. Like those two stamp sets, Child of God, as the name says, they're like totally centered around Bible journaling, with also with the words and the images and everything. So yay, I think let's jump right in. Let me just get rid of my ink pad here. And maybe we will just start with this one. I already colored this one in. I did this on Periscope the other day. Yeah, so let's get started. I think we will just color the first girl here with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, okay? So you will need some Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, of course, and you will need a brush. I myself prefer to work with an aqua brush. If you know me, you know that I love my Pentel Aqua brushes. I use them all the time. And of course, since this is quite a small image here to color compared to the other girls that I usually paint and draw and color, they are like on a larger scale, I would definitely suggest like the very small fine tip one here. Okay, so this is the one that I'm going to work with for my girl. So, and one more thing you will need is just a clear sheet of acetate, or you could also use an acrylic block like this one, because I'm not always using the pens or the markers right on paper, but I also love to use them on something with a smooth surface like this, and then just pick the color up. But you will see this as we continue here, okay? So, let me just put this here, and I will get started. This is actually my favorite go-to color for the face, which is the flesh color. So for like a Caucasian style, this is like a very good color to start with, okay? And I make sure I have my brush, my aqua brush handy. There you go. Then I just start to color this in here. And I just lay the color down along the edges. And then I go in with my aqua brush and slightly blend the color towards the center. Okay, so you're always working with your brush tip kind of pointing towards the darker area here, like this. I'll just work my way all the way around. And as with all watercolor markers, it's important that you work rather quick with blending the colors, because once they kind of set on the paper, you can't blend them as nicely anymore. So you just want to lay down a little bit of color to a smaller part or area and then go in and blend that, okay? So, first base skin color is down. You can see I left a little bit of a highlight here at the bridge of the nose and here where the cheeks are, but we will work on those shadows and highlights even more. So not super important just yet, okay? Then I grab a light pink. The color is also called light pink, and I just love to use this color here underneath the eyes, and then again I go back in slightly blended. And I really like this, like the effect of the color kind of really bleed into the other areas. Okay, now I will show you the second way that I talked about, to just put down the color onto something smooth here, and then you can pick it up with your brush, and this way you can work a little more precise with the color, and the color is also not like super intense as it would be if you would work with your pen or the marker on paper directly, and I totally love that. So this is good if you want a little bit of a lighter shade and to have it a little easier to blend into the rest of your painting. Okay, like this. And for this one I'm going for a little bit of a pinkish overall feel here to the skin. So I'm just laying down a little more pink. I just totally love the look of different unusual colors in the skin tone, like in the shadow areas, like pink, blue, purple. So you can see I used some pink, some purple, some turquoise for the skin, because I think one of the major, well, not mistakes, but major points that I see is that people only use a flesh color, a flesh tone for the skin, and this way you can't really achieve a lot of depth. You can achieve this depth by using other colors for the shadow areas, because the skin is always kind of reflecting light from this, or the color of the surrounding area. Okay, let's say a person is standing in a green forest, there will be a lot of green in the shadows and in the overall color. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, now we have a little cute rosy rosy cheeked, rosy skinned girl here. And in the next step I want to go a little darker with the shadow areas. With small images like this, I actually try to stick to like a maximum of 3 different colors. Like this would be the darkest dark that I put down. If I work on a larger scale, I keep on layering and layering and layering to build up the shadow areas, okay? But the smaller the actual image is, of course, you kind of have to limit yourself in color and in the amount of supply or media that you add, because otherwise you might end up with a muddy, how do you say, a muddy color scheme. I don't know. If you keep layering too much on a small scale, it's kind of ending up to be all a mess of one color, you know what I mean? So the smaller you work, the more you kind of want to limit yourself in the actual amount of supply that you kind of bring onto your project. So let's use this purple here. This is a lilac, and I'm picking it up with my brush again, just going here into the darker areas where the hair is kind of casting a shadow, and where the eyes kind of sunken back into the face, the bridge of the nose where it's casting a little bit of a shadow here, and just along the outline of the face, and here where the skin is kind of casting a little bit of a shadow, like that. Okay. Then I would just clean my brush and then again slightly blend it in a little more. And again, it's always best to work with the tip of your brush facing towards the darkest area. Like, that's why I keep on like turning my pieces around while I work. So just in case you were wondering. And let's add a little bit of a darker pink. This is the light carmine to the cheeks, just a tiny bit to add a little more. Add some rosy cheeks here, just a tiny bit more. Like that. Again, cleaning my brush and then blending it in a little more. I think I'm going to use this pink for the first layer of lip color here. And also add a tad bit of it to the cute little nose, like that. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry for now. Okay, so let's continue with the hair. I'm starting with a light brown here again. This is the oatmeal, and I'm starting from the areas where the hair is growing out of the head and where the hair is kind of tied together, and just kind of flicking my brush. Now my printer is making strange noises towards center here, because I want a little bit of a white area up here. Okay, some light reflections, which kind of gives a little bit of a dimension to the hair. So I'm making sure I'm leaving this white space in those areas where the hair is kind of further apart, so catching more light. Okay. And same here with this braid. Is it called braid? Braided hair, I think. I'll just start here in the center at this inner part here. Just like that. And then a tiny bit here at the outside. And if you lay down too much color, don't worry, because we are going, as a last step, we're going in with a white marker to bring in a little more highlight. So don't stress too much about it, but I always go with what you already leave white. You don't have to get the white back in later, which makes it easier, okay? And next I'm just grabbing a darker brown. This is a color called dark brown, which totally makes sense. And then I'm going back in, and I just love this very, very, very fine tip of the brush. You can really, as you can see, work very, very detailed with it. And I totally love this about the Clean Color Real Brush pens here. So I'm just starting in the center, then adding in some small strands of hair here. Like that, okay? Same up here. This is actually similar. If you worked with Copic markers before, for example, I also love to work with alcohol markers, with Copic markers. I would kind of work in the same principle as I'm doing here with the watercolor marker. This way, just with working with those two colors, you already get a lot of depth and dimension in here, as you can see. Doesn't actually really need a lot more. And then you could, if you want to, go in with your aqua brush and blend that a little. But actually for the hair, I just love the look as it is, with those kind of strands of hair visible here. So I wouldn't even go in with my aqua brush here. If I would go in with the aqua brush, I would just kind of blend it a little more together. So it really depends just on the look that you want to go for, okay? So, next step, I'm gonna add a tiny bit of color to the eyes. Let's see. Maybe let's give her some green eyes, something greenish maybe. Again, I would start with a lighter green. This is an ochre. Well, the color is called ochre, but it's kind of an olive green to me. The color names that kind of sometimes are really strange. I don't know. For me, this is an olive green. But anyways, it's called ochre, okay? And I think I'm just gonna use this for the headband as well. Just adding in a tiny bit of this color, going in with my aqua brush and blending this a little like that. Same with the eyes. Letting this dry first. I think I'm also going to use this, no, this is a wrong one, for this like pendant that she's wearing here. Just for a little bit of a repetition of color, because I always kind of like to have the same color in different areas in my projects, because it kind of gives you like a very balanced overall look if you use one color in more than just one spot, okay? Like that. Then I would grab this darker green here, which is called olive green. Okay, so this is called olive green, which looks like a false green to me, but anyways, adding in a tiny bit of a darker green here into the eyes. And I think I'm also going to use this for another feather here, kind of sticking to this like forest color scheme here. And as you can see, it really just needs a tiny bit of the color pigment, a little bit of blending, that's all it takes. So, I think I'm gonna use a tiny bit of this green on my acrylic block here to add a tiny bit of it to the shadow area, okay? Just because I don't want this pink face to like totally stand out and be like separate from the other colors that I used. And this kind of brings it all a little more together. And it also adds a little bit more depth to the darkest shadow areas here. course, like a super detailed shading is really difficult on a small scale like that. But that's what you kind of have to live with if you're working on a small scale and with a wet media, of course, like with Copics, for example, with markers, or with colored pencils. You have, of course, more control over the colors, where the colors go, right? Because, you know, watercolor and wet media, they kind of do a little bit of their own thing, but actually that's what I love about them. So I totally embrace that. Embrace the fact that it's a little bit unpredictable up to a certain point. But that's one of the fun things about watercolor. It's one of the things that I actually love about watercolor. So I'm pretty thankful that watercolors behave like that, because it's just so much fun. Alrighty, so let's see, what else do we need here? I think I want a little bit of some like blue or turquoise in here, just for an additional color, how do you say, splash of color. So I'm just using this turquoise here for this feather. This is the turquoise green. The color is called turquoise green. And of course, again, I'm not using it on this feather only, but I would, for example, add in a little bit of it down here for some repetition. I might add a little bit of it to those beads and maybe to those pearls here. Like that. And again, where's my acrylic block? There you go. Tiny bit of it to the shadows. Okay, and then I would also use a little bit of this turquoise for the hair. Just jump in and add a tiny bit of it to the shadow areas, because an additional shadow color, no matter if you use like purple or blue or green, it always kind of adds depth and interest to the shadow areas. So if you can, always add an additional color. Like, for example, if you have brown hair, you would think that the darkest shadow is a dark brown, but an additional different color, like purple or green or blue, always brings in an interesting special touch and makes it look more dimensional, more alive. Kind of makes the colors come to life. Like this, okay? Yeah, and I think that would be it already. I would let this dry, then go back in with my white for some highlights. And for the white highlights, I'm just looking for my cap. For the white highlights, I'll have to use my white Sharpie paint marker, the water-based one with the fine tip, or the Molotov acrylic paint marker, the white one, also with a fine tip. So those both work very, very well. And once it's dry, I will just go back in like for example with a Molotov marker. Now I'll just add a tiny white spot to the nose here, some reflections to the bottom lip, to the top lip here, to this pendant, to the tiny beads. So it's just really small, tiny additional things, but in the end it makes a little bit of a difference, or actually a big difference. So I'm just doing like a white line here at the bridge of the nose, and then up here a little bit of white like that, and a white reflection here at the top of the cheek where the cheekbone is. I would add this waterline into the eye. Like that. And you can see it's not much, so it's just a tiny bit of white, but for me it kind of always adds, because we bring in the darkness, so the shadows, then we have the midtones, and then we also need some real highlights, catch lights, okay? Could also do this in the feathers, just a little bit of additional white, makes it a little more alive. Also with the hair, I would start here in the center, and just move my pen into the darker areas for a little bit of some additional highlight here, okay? Of course it always depends on how much white space you left there right from the beginning. If you're happy with your white space, of course you don't have to go back in with your white marker, but this kind of helps to bring in some more highlights again if they kind of got lost along the way during the coloring process, okay? Okay, you like it? Gonna leave it as it is. As you can see, it's not really super difficult, this process of coloring in those small faces. You don't really need a lot of supplies or a really large white color range or color palette. And now you could just, for example, cut this out and then use it in combination with your other stamps, with the words from the stamp sets, or with those other matching elements like the dream catcher, the feathers, then kind of collage them down like onto a card, onto a tag, or in an art journal, on an art journal page, in your art journal Bible, wherever. And the good thing is that you can also use the same colors for the other elements, and also in the background of the card, for example, to kind of have it all a little matchy. Okay, so I think we'll just continue. And with the other watercolor media, the process is very similar. I actually just wanted to share with you all of my favorite watercolor supplies, so not only the Z Clean Coloring brush pens. So I'm going to use like the watercolors from the pen for the next one, but the process is like really the same, using my aqua brush again. And yes, I'm gonna put you in fast forward now, and if I have something important to tell you, something to point out, I will jump in with a little voiceover. But other than that, I will just get started here and yeah, use my watercolors from the pen this time for my little planner girl here. And again, same principle, I'm starting with the color along the outline of the face and then blending it in. So the technique basically is the same. Yeah, the only difference is that this time the colors come from the pen and not from the marker, right? So that's it with the second girl, this cute little planner girl here with her Midori, with her traveler's notebook. Again, kept this in a purplish color scheme, as you can see, and I only worked with the Winsor & Newton watercolors from the pan. Yeah, it's just the same way I worked with the Clean Color Real Brush pens, working from light to dark. Lots of flicking brush motions. And now let's move on to this cute little praying girl here. And for this one, I will grab my watercolor palette. Let me just grab the right one. This one is my palette for my Ecoline watercolors, okay? And yeah, as I mentioned before, and those are liquid watercolors. They come in a tiny pot like this. Large variety of colors, super rich, high pigmented. Totally love to work with them. And yeah, I just work with them the following way. Let me just clean a couple of pots maybe. So I use a clean pot and I use a little what is it called? Eyedropper tool, I think. Eyedropper tool, yeah, I think that's what they're called. And then I pick up a little bit of the color, put it into my palette here, See, the eyedropper wasn't really clean. But anyways, whoops. Embrace it. And yeah, then I just work with it out of the mixing palette here. For example, those, they are dried up, so if you added a little more color to your mixing palette, more than you actually use for your project, and they dry up, don't kind of wash them out, because if you use your brush and some water, as with all watercolors, you can totally reactivate them. So no waste of color here, which I love. So let me just clean my brush again, and then I will just get started the same way. I will start with this nice flesh color here, which is called, what is it called? Pastel red. Okay, yeah, it's a pastel red, a very light red, orangey. It's a really nice flesh tone for a Caucasian skin. And I'll just work the very same way, putting down my color, cleaning my brush, and then blending it in towards the center of the face here. So yeah, actually same process as with the watercolors from the pan. They just kind of behave a little different because of their very liquid consistency. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but actually this this process of getting used to those colors, it doesn't really take long. And yeah, if you like watercolors, definitely give them a try. I'm pretty sure you're gonna love them because they're awesome. They're awesome to play with, to work with. And again, I just totally love the vibrancy of the colors. Like this, first face base layer down. And yeah, I will put you in fast forward again because, again, same process. I just wanted to show you the results with using 3 different types of watercolor media in the end. So that's why I'm doing another piece with another type of watercolor media here. that's it. Our third girl, a little praying girl, is finished. Again, same very simple process. Only use the watercolors, and in this case almost not, well, it's not monochromatic, but I actually only used the skin color and then some of the pink and some of the turquoise and a tad bit of orange for the shirt as a complementary contrast for the blue. But that's actually all I used here for this one. So as you can see, it is just so much fun to play with some watercolors and those stamped images. And then I would cut them out and turn them into something. Maybe incorporate them on a card or on a tag, or use them in my planner or in my art journals or in my Bible. I might even turn this one into a paperclip for my planner, since I plan on doing this for quite a while now. So maybe just let me do this real quick. Okay, so just to give you an example, once I'm at it, why not finish those or put those to use on some real projects, right? So I just prepared like a card. Very simple card here with a little bit of a watercolor background. And then I have a piece of an old like book page here, which I think we will just add here to the card. Just to give you an idea for a really super simple, super quick card. I have some vintage lace here, which I'm gonna adhere to my card. Of course, you could use a sewing machine to sew this to the card, which would make it even prettier. But I just wanted to give you a really quick example here of how to use the stamps on a project, the stamped or the colored images on a project. So I will just stick to gluing this down. Like that. Easy peasy. Now let's see which one I want to use here. This one would actually look good color-wise, but I think I want to use this one because I thought of using this washi tape as well real quick, which is a nice addition here. And there's a little bit of this green in here as well that I used in the stamped colored image. So I will just use a strip of washi here, and maybe this one, a smaller one. Oops, oh my gosh. And then this green in the girl here is kind of a nice repetition of color. Let's maybe use one of the stems. Free Spirit. I'm not sure which one to use here in addition. Maybe the Kind Heart. Let's just see where I want to put this. Maybe up here. Yeah. So I'm just going to stamp this real quick. card. This is also one of the Wild Soul Clearstamp set. So it goes nicely with the image here. And I will just glue this down. You could also use some 3D glue dots to make it pop off the page a little. If you would want to, like this. Et voila, super easy, super quick. You have a nice cute little card. I would maybe, as a finishing touch, add some paint splatters here. You might not be super surprised about this. So let's just load my brush here. Just shielding this off. And maybe some pink ones as well. Let me just grab some pink. Yeah, and as you can see, doesn't take a lot to create a beautiful little card with the stamped images. Of course, you could go as wild and as crazy as you would want to, depending on the time you have on your hands and on the look that you're going for. But you can see this took like, I don't know, once the image is colored it takes maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't know how long this took, but I think it is pretty cute. I really like it. You could of course like cut out some more feathers, for example, or the stream catcher, and then kind of layer it 3-dimensional on top of each other. So yeah, but I just wanted to show you a quick example of what to do with a colored image. With the planner girl, I just don't want to get my planner all messy with the watercolors, so the planner girl I turned into a paper clip for my planner here. As you can see, really cute, to use it as a page marker like this. Just adhered a paper clip here, or you could just, like, I don't know, put it to the inside here as a piece of decoration for your planner. So many possibilities. I'm actually gonna leave it here. I think it's pretty cute. Yay! So I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope it could give you the one or the other tip on how to color in those tiny images. Of course, there are far more possibilities. You could use I don't know, like colored pencils. I also love to use colored pencils to color them in. You could use Copic markers, any other type of markers. You could even use acrylic paint. I'm so sorry, I'm making a big mess here. Acrylic paint if you would want to. So yay, endless possibilities. Hope you enjoyed this little video, guys, and so happy I finally found the time to make a video again for you, because I'm already feeling like super bad lately, because I'm so bad with my YouTube channel. I'm neglecting it lately because of all the weddings to shoot, and there's so much going on in our lives right now. I'm gonna spill a lot of beans in the near future. One of the things, you might have seen it, I'm not sure if you've seen it. I might spill one bean right now. if you stuck with me till the end, I will tell you a secret. See here, my planner. This is actually my wedding planner. Yes, and Thomas and me, we're gonna get married on October 22nd. So that's one of the reasons why over the last weeks I've been super busy organizing many different things, and yeah, so a lot going on, some more things that I will talk about in the future, guys. But just rest assured, I'm not leaving you. I'm still around, and I will make more videos again as soon as time allows. I have so many ideas. I just need a little more time on my hands. I wish my day would have like 48 hours and not only 24, but yay. So that's what we have. That's what we have to work with, right? So guys, I will stop to talk now. Thank you so much for being here with me, for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you liked it, and talk to you all soon. Bye guys!